Words cannot describe how excited I am, but I'm also fairly cautious. Because the last time they did a Thor versus Vegeta was the DBX, and... no. Hello, everybody. It's me, your boy, the guy with the blue bandana and the yellow scarf. And, yeah. So, Thor versus Vegeta. Probably my most wanted Marvel versus non-DC matchup right now. And I'm hoping it's gonna be good, because given Season 9's quality so far, everything's looking to be really, really good so far. And I'm excited. For context, Thor is, like, probably one of my favorite characters in the MCU, probably behind Doctor Strange. And... yeah, no, he's just behind Doctor Strange. He's second. He's my second favorite. And Vegeta's, like, my second favorite character in Dragon Ball behind, Beerus. And if we're counting just my favorite Saiyan overall, Vegeta takes it. I mean, Goku's cool and all, but Vegeta is, like... Vegeta, I've always liked Vegeta more. He's way cooler, in my opinion, at least. So, in reality, I don't know who's gonna win. Now, if this was any other Versus series, I'd probably say Thor wins. In fact, I'm probably leaning more towards Thor than Vegeta. Mostly because, like, I think with the Thor Force, or Odin Force, you can get Thor to outer. I could be wrong, I'm wrong about a lot of things. And, but that's what I've heard. I heard you can get him to outer, so... yeah. Anyway... Vegeta, on the other hand, you can get to, like, low multi-plus at best. And I don't know where he scales with Ultra Ego now, but... That's also another thing I'm excited for. I'm really excited to see how they bring Ultra Ego to animation. Because let's be real, that's gonna be, like, the big final battle is gonna be, like, a fully mad Thor with, like, a boost or something. Versus Ultra Ego Vegeta, which is going to be awesome. Just saying that just makes me so giddy. I'm excited. I've been... honestly, a lot of the episodes... I mean, I was excited for Jinx versus Harley Quinn, but that was mostly just because I had just watched Arcane at the time. And I still love it. I love Arcane. It's, like, my favorite TV show right now. And then... wasn't really hyped for Scarlet Zatanna... and I was hyped for Tanjiro vs. Johnathan. We'll get to that later. Because I love JoJo, and I had just started watching Demon Slayer, and I was really enjoying it, and I still do enjoy it. We'll get to that later, like I said. But, yeah. But with the death battle calcs they gave Broly in the last one, in Hulk vs. Broly, this is basically just Hulk vs. Broly 2, just with better characters, in my opinion. Yeah, I said it. Thor's better than Hulk. Freaking fight me. So in Hulk vs. Broly, they scaled Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and they said he was 30 times stronger than World Breaker Hulk. Now, if they do use that, and they don't use any of Thor's, like, outer feats or anything like that, then I'm inclined to say Vegeta would probably win. But I feel like they would have to use Thor's outer feats or whatever. And if that is true, then Thor just would ultimately stomp on Vegeta. And honestly, I don't really care who wins, because I love both of these characters, although I do like Thor a bit more, but I still like Vegeta. Like I said, like, second favorite Dragon Ball character, and second favorite MCU character. I don't really read comics outside of the Archie Sonic comics, but that's just because, or the IDW Sonic comics as well, but that's just because of my massive Sonic bias. I try to be as unbiased as possible for my Archie Knuckles versus Juggernaut video. Yeah. And, yeah, overall, who I think is gonna win, I'm thinking Thor's gonna win. But Vegeta could also possibly pull out a victory here. So, but I'm just gonna say, for consistency amongst people, I think Thor is gonna win. That was probably the most in-depth prediction I've done so far on this channel. Anyway, let's move on to the Tanjiro versus Johnathan episode, because I have some stuff to say about that. As I said before, I was really hyped for this episode. It's, taking JoJo, which is probably one of my favorite anime ever, and it's taking Demon Slayer, an anime that I just started recently watching and recently enjoying. So, how good was it? Well, for starters, the analysis was actually pretty good. Tanjiro's analysis was a bit short, but I guess they would have to do that because of spoilers, because a lot of people haven't finished Demon Slayer yet, and most of us are anime-only watchers, so... But it was good nonetheless. The Pickle Rick joke caught me off guard, and I actually kind of enjoyed it. But yeah, it was pretty good. Johnathan's analysis was also pretty good. Yeah, that's really all I have to say. The analysis was just really, really good, and it was actually better than the other two analyses. The other two analysis segments, the other 4 analysis segments this season. So, okay, we're starting out strong. Then we get to the fight. And the opening... Okay, I'm gonna be honest, the opening isn't really that good. I think there's literally an argument to be made that if Tanjiro just said, "Oh, she's my sister, she's totally innocent," then Johnathan probably would have been like, "Oh, okay," and just left. Because, after all, Johnathan is not one to kind of attack like a freaking... He's not Jotaro. He won't attack out of anger or anything. He's a gentleman. He's proper. He has manners. And while Jonathan's gentleman's speech at the beginning was sort of in character, I feel like he would kind of listen to Tanjiro because, you know, he's smart. He's not an idiot. He's a scholar. He's smart. Johnathan isn't an idiot. He's really intelligent. I'm kind of repeating myself, but it's true. But anyway, whatever, get the fight started. So, how was the rest of the fight? Well, outside of a few noticeable, I can't speak today. Outside of a few noticeable pieces of jank, like when Johnathan is doing his rapid fire punches, not the Sunlight Yellow Overdrive, that comes later. He's just kind of like hovering towards Tanjiro instead of moving his legs. He's just kind of floating towards him, which does look a bit off, and it was something I called in the preview. And, well, I think it's the 4th form of total concentration water breathing, the water wheel, I think it was. Was it 4th or 2nd? I can't remember. It was nice, and it was well animated, but no, the 4th form is the rushing tides thing. 2nd form is water wheel, I think. But as I said, the 4th form, which is the rushing tide, the water didn't really move. It was just kind of static, and it didn't really look right. But once you get past all the water breathing effects and get to the Hinokami Kagura, then that's when it starts getting fluid. The fire dragon looks freaking amazing. I love it. They also brought up they did it in like one of those corner boxes, but they brought up that while in some statements the effects are just visual flair for the audience, there are multiple statements that outright state that, and also multiple instances of the elements being used as offensive methods, like Tanjiro using water as a projectile. So there is a decent argument to make about them being real. Which I think is cool. I hope they're real, because Tanjiro attacking people with a giant effing water dragon is freaking amazing. It's so cool. Just you're running at someone with a sword that has a water dragon coming out of it. That's so badass. That is like the most badass thing anyone can come up with. So that's why I'm more on the side that the visual effects for the elements are real and not fake, because the water dragon's cool. That's all the evidence I have. Anyway, back to the fight itself. I like Johnathan's Zoom Punch. It was really well animated, but his thighs, his legs, when he just kind of stood there after doing his rapid fire punches, his thighs were really thick. Like, I wasn't the only one that noticed that, right? Because they were really big and it kind of looked weird to me. I don't know if I could, like... And that's another thing I should talk about, the sprites. For Johnathan, they look fine outside of the weird thighs. And for Tanjiro, it's mostly good. The face looks a bit weird, but it's still pretty good. And... yeah. Anyway, I do like Johnathan actually complimenting Tanjiro every time Tanjiro does something impressive. Because, like, that's another thing. They kind of, outside of the opening, they kind of they almost nailed Johnathan's character. Like when Tanjiro, predicts what Johnathan's about to do, Johnathan says, "You could teach me a thing or two," which is honestly something he would probably say to someone like Tanjiro who isn't evil, he's just kind of defending himself. After all, Johnathan is the aggressor, but he thinks that's because Nezuko's hypnotized him or something, because Dio. Them also just kind of like monologuing about strategies to themselves. That's, well, I mean, for Tanjiro, I think he did it like once, and Johnathan, I don't think Johnathan did it at all, but it was pretty cool hearing their inner thoughts. Really does feel like a real anime. Oh, and the track. Gotta mention the track. It is probably the second best JoJo track ever. It's behind Hell Over Heaven, but it's above Bizarre Stars, I think. That's what it was called. Yeah, I think it was that. I think it was Bizarre Stars. It was really good. I don't think I'd listen to it, like, outside of this fight, but it was still pretty good. And then now we gotta talk about the ending. Well, actually, no. Before we talk about the ending, gotta talk about the voice cast. They do a really good job. For the most part, okay? I do think that Johnathan kind of screaming "Overdrive" at the top of his lungs, like, he sounds a bit too aggressive for my liking, because, like, when he does it in the anime, he's like, Metal Silver Overdrive, but here it's like, Metal Silver Overdrive! And he's, like, just yelling it, and it's fine, but I prefer the other one where he's kind of just more calm about it, for lack of a better word. Anyway, and Tanjiro's voice actor does a pretty good job. Anyway, now it's time to talk about the ending. Now, this may be a bit of a hot take, but I think the ending to this episode, the fight at least, is the most emotional ending we've gotten in a death battle. It just barely beats out Saitama versus Popeye's ending. It's like, it's better than it, but like, by such a tiny margin that I can't really say that I prefer one or the other. I mean, Jonathan's crying is a bit weird, because he kind of starts, like, he starts bawling his eyes out, but then he's just, like, not. And him, and, okay, the death, it's not brutal. Now, most death battles, you would expect the death to be, like, as brutal as possible. Like, that's, like, half the fun. Like, Goku Black versus Reverse Flash's death that was brutal as hell. And the fact that Black was technically still alive because his hair hadn't changed back to normal is just, it's honestly kind of funny to me. Dio versus Alucard's death, also brutal. This one, it was a beautiful death, basically. There's no overtly dramatic final rapid order punch at the end. It's just, well, there is, but that's part of it. That's like the first part, and then the second part is just Johnathan stopping Tanjiro's heart with Hamon, which I think is a bit out of character. I feel like he would try and help Tanjiro, but ultimately Tanjiro would like succumb to his wounds because Johnathan kind of beat him half to death, and that's when Johnathan would kind of be like, "On my honor as a gentleman, I will protect your sister with my life." But still, the ending is fine, and the fact that and the freaking the hands at the end, it was so well animated. Like, yeah, it kind of did that weird hand-drawn sprite mix, but it still looked really good. And the fact that Nezuko was like hesitant to take Jonathan's hand, because after all, this is the guy who murdered her brother right in front of her. I mean, not brutally, but still. It's honestly kind of satisfying. I really like this episode. I wouldn't say I like it more than Dio Alucard. I mean, to be fair, that episode is like damn near the pinnacle of Death Battle. That was such a good episode. But I think this episode is still really good. I'd give it an 8. Maybe a 7.5, but I think an 8 for now is what I'm going with. I really like this episode. I highly recommend it, and I really hope the rest of the season is going to be like this. I hope this season has a massive, just a really, really well rest of it. I really hope this season doesn't have any stinkers. Like, don't get me wrong, Season 8 was a great season. But there were still a few episodes that kind of hold it back for me from being, like, the pinnacle of Death Battle. Those episodes being Lex versus Doom, Blake versus Mikasa, and of course, who could forget Shao Kahn versus Akuma. That was an awful episode. But yeah, I really hope, so far, from what we're getting, this episode is still really good. And I think that JoJo episodes from now on are just gonna be really good. I know I keep saying that, but I really can't think of other words. It's honestly funny to think how our first JoJo episode we got was god-awful. Our second one was basically godlike. And our third one, while not exactly godlike like the last one, was still really good. I think JoJo episodes are going to be some of the best on in the series now, and I really hope so, because JoJo, I love JoJo, and if we get more Demon Slayer episodes, I'll love that too, because I love Demon Slayer. Yeah, I said it. I don't care if that makes me a normie. It's still a good anime, in my opinion. You can have your own opinion. Anyway, I'm kind of dragging this out a bit too long, but yeah, I really like this episode. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I would recommend it. Oh, and before I forget, they freaking ended Jonathan's conclusion with the "to be continued" meme, and honestly, that actually made me audibly laugh. But it was kind of like a ha laugh, not really a funniest shit I ever seen. It was really good, and it was the perfect way. I'm honestly surprised they didn't do it for Dio's episode, but yeah, pretty good. I guess since they can't really end it off with ending quotes now, that's the next best thing. So you know what? Great episode. Go watch it, and if you don't want to, then you don't have to. But this episode was still really, really good. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in another video, which will either be another Smash montage, or the review for Thor vs. Vegeta, and the prediction of whatever episode comes next. Or maybe I'll do something completely else. Who knows? Oh, by the way, we are getting close, like really close to 700 subscribers. So if you've been holding out on subscribing for a while, then please do. I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2022, and if we can do that, that would be really cool. But yeah, that's really all I have to say. I will see you in the next video. Bye!